Hello and welcome to Buildings of Tomorrow. My name is John Lester, and in today's episode, we're talking about fire safety. What does fire safety constitute, and what do we protect when we do fire safety correctly? I'm joined today by Carsten Liesener, the head of the Solutions and Service Division of Siemens Smart Infrastructure in Europe. Carsten, thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, welcome, John.
So when we talk about fire safety, what do we talk about? Is it just detection? Is it just alarming, or is there more to it than that?
No, I mean, since many years, I would say even for decades, we are much more look in a holistic way on it. So it's definitely detection. It's also extinguishing. It's also special detection. We actually do for certain applications. And it's also this whole story about evacuation, because it's really kind of a holistic picture. You have to look at it. If you protect really a building or kind of the people, the assets, so you have to look at it much more holistically to cover all the different cover all the different topics. And maybe to give you just a recent example of a really heavy and really dramatic fire in Notre Dame. In France, where kind of the detection works and everything worked. However, the response plan was not really appropriate, and that's why we were actually losing a lot of time there and really destroyed a heritage in France. So there you can see that all these kind of different elements have to fit together. That it's then really a protection we actually envision to have.
Yeah, and exactly as you mentioned, I think it's not just the first step, the technology that looks at these things. It's what we protect, and that example is a really good one, because it's not just a normal building. It's livelihoods, it's life, but it's also history for many different cases. So we have a lot of challenges from that perspective.
Yeah, and it's really that's why I also said it's the different type of building. So it's actually what we're protecting, and this is also this campaign protection matters out of the fire safety segment is actually giving the complete picture, because it's actually people, it's really the lives, the assets. And it's also big kind of emotional piece to it, because it's also protecting historical buildings where you have actually all the treasures which are gone forever if kind of a fire is actually burning down all the things. So it's very much an emotional thing, and something also the customers really resonates to. That it's not only kind of a piece of software and piece of hardware, but it's really something which is emotionally also connected to what we are doing here. Protection also of heritage and treasure we have, and for example with historical buildings.
Yeah, and I like the word that you use there, dramatic, because fire is a dramatic thing. Even if it's a campfire or a fire within your house, it's something that draws attention. But when you are talking about life and assets, and as you mentioned, history, this is such an important piece. And one of the things that you mentioned just earlier that we haven't touched on yet is a response plan, because we have the technology, we understand that we're looking after such important things. There's nothing more important than life and the safety of the people within a building, within a space. This response plan, how does this work between those people and the technologies that are providing that protection?
I mean, it's very much. I mean, it really starts with the early detection of a fire. And then really you get the message on the pan, and then on the panel, and then it's really that kind of this the firefighters, and that everything is kind of connected, that you're not losing time. And for kind of critical infrastructure, usually it's anyway directly connected to the firefighters, that we are really not losing time here. So it really has to fit together from a kind of an high quality and early as possible detection of a fire, and then really that all the staff, which is also kind of a trained staff, can really then follow this kind of information flow then up to the firefighters, that they can actually be on time on the site or at the building to extinguish the fire. Or, I mean, what you also have in between, that's why I was also talking about extinguishing. Also, then the extinguishing system can actually act right away to extinguish the fire.
So it's that, and it's really interesting, particularly in the technologies we have. When we talk about buildings and the operational technologies, it's relatively unique from a fire safety perspective that you need this really active and essential combination between the technology and with the people that can take action. If we look at building automation as an example, much of the detection and then the action and the activities can be done by the system, the technology themselves. They don't always need that human connection. But with fire safety, this connection is essential.
Yeah. I mean, this flow has to kind of information flow. It has to be really connected, and it all starts again. I mean, it all starts still with a kind of a great technology we definitely have, because you have to also distinguish between a real alarm, a fire alarm, and a false alarm. Yeah, and this is also what's happening in the industry. If you actually take low quality products, then you have always the danger to just follow false alarms, and then usually this is then human nature. If you have too many false alarms, then maybe the one time where you really have a fire alarm, then you're not taking care of it because you thought, okay, it's another false alarm. Yeah. So this is that's why it really starts with a perfect early detection, and really not detecting or kind of coming up with false alarms here, but really detecting the fire as early as possible. And then this whole, extinguishing, evacuation, and the overall response plan can happen. And there we are, very well positioned, because we have a really, really great technology out there.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point as well. That quality of technology, and you mentioned human nature. I'm sure that most people listening have been in an office or somewhere where there's been a false alarm, and it's not that every time there's an alarm, everyone in the room jumps up and runs out the door, or walks out the door in a controlled manner, I should say. We are trained to a certain point, if we do experience this too often, to assume that this time it's not serious.
Exactly.
And that's a real challenge, I think. And I like the connection you made there from, you need really great technology to ensure that these things don't happen too often, to then make sure that those connections, whether it's directly with the professionals who would respond or directly with those people within the building, within the space who are being protected, can react more effectively than if this was the third alarm this month and every time it had been a false alarm.
Yeah. Yeah, because usually, when you talk to people, nobody would say, I was in a fire just recently. Fortunately, but they experienced many false alarm situations, standing in front of a hotel in the middle of the night. And this is usually then not good for the reputation of the fire safety. And that's why it's so important to have really the best in class technology when it comes to detection. And there, I think we have really the right name in the market as Siemens. So we know what we are doing. We are doing it since so many years, and we have really great technology out there.
Yeah, and I think that holistic breadth from the technology perspective and the experience to go with that is one of the important points. So that holistic response plan that you talked about, is that something that is developed with the customer, with the operators, together with fire response teams and companies, suppliers like Siemens? Is this something that is built together?
Yeah, it's usually kind of the community, and also together with the regulation bodies. So all the different parties are working on these kind of things, and then sometimes make it then really very specific for the certain building type, so to say, what we have, to make it kind of tailor-made for the kind of the purpose of the building, and actually what's then the appropriate response plan for a building. Because I would say it's also different. Is it kind of an historical building? Is it an office building? Is it an industrial building, or whatever kind of the purpose of the building is? I think then you also tailor the approaches a little bit. But coming back to your question, this is where all the different parties are working on, and we definitely have also a big stake in it, because we are not only selling the technology, we are also doing the service afterwards, and we have really a clue how kind of all the technology fits together, and what's also an appropriate response plan then for that specific purpose, so to say.
Definitely. And you touched on a really good point there as well. I think it's always really it's essential to recognize that every building is different. Whether it's the application or the use of that building, the age, the functionality of the building, or what's inside, who's inside, and what's happening. The actual activity that's undertaken within that building all has an impact on how the fire safety systems and the technologies, and then that response plan, have to be designed to deliver that safety and that security for the people and the assets inside.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, we also, some time back, we were also already working on kind of taking the data out of the building to figure out, where usually the people are during a certain period of time during the day. Yeah? So to give you an example, when you have a fire detected, and it's kind of in the middle of the day, where usually most of the people are in, out and eating, or where they are in the building, then you can also adapt the evacuation, so to say, accordingly. So these kind of things we were also working on, and these kind of ideas are also then found their place in the response plans afterwards.
Definitely. And that topic I'd like to jump into in a separate episode, to understand how different systems within the building can work together, and how fire safety can take that information and start to make different and more poignant decisions and actions depending on that situation. But we'll save that, because I think that will fill up some time in itself. Thank you so much, Carsten. Thank you for joining us, and thank you to everyone out there listening. Please feel free to like, comment, and share on this episode. Subscribe to us on your favorite podcast channels and this channel that you're listening on, and we'll see you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.